All right, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for staying tuned. As promised, I got a great podcaster, one of my good friends, and we are actually 2/5 of the 4-3 podcast, where we like to talk about NFL and college football. So y'all definitely got to go check that out. Great discussions on that show. a lot of debating going on. We got some Ravens and Steelers fans on there. Gotta throw my hate for their teams on here. But anyway, my man, the one and only, host of 28 Minutes or Less than Viewers Anonymous, Sdotfoster. How you doing, my brother?
Man, appreciate you having me on, man. I'm doing good, man. Just put another one in the bag, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm a heavy podcaster, man. So actually doubling up today. So this is the second pod of the day for me, man. But still gonna come with that energy, man. I love this shit, man. Oh dang, I didn't know if I can cuss on this pod.
Yeah, you good, you
Oh,
good.
oh, okay. Yeah, man, but I'm into this, man. I'm excited. I'm excited. We've been trying to do this for like what, about a year?
Yeah, for about a year.
Yeah, man. Because we kind of set this up after you came on. You came on to the 28 minutes or less, and you know what I'm saying, that was a fun pod, man. And we was trying to set up one to come over here, and scheduling got in the way. A lot of stuff came about, but we here now.
Yeah, we finally here, man. And I had a great experience on 28 Minutes or Less. I'm not gonna lie. So I was like, hey, the way the conversation flowed, you got to come on here when I bring it back. So this show, the Link Podcast, the flagship show of the Link Entertainment LLC, is finally back. So we appreciate everybody who was asking and looking for it. We here. So and as usual, like I always say at the end of the show, I'm gonna say it right now. We like to link y'all with people who do great things around you, man. Listen, got my man over here doing great things in the podcast world. So go check out them, check out those shows, and we'll talk about a little bit more of those here coming right up here. So actually, my first thing I was going to ask you about, speaking of 28 minutes or less, and you kind of said this on the actual show. How did you come up with the name for those shows, 28 minutes or less, and Viewers Anonymous?
Oh man, well honestly, it has to start with my very first podcast, my baby, the Stolen Time podcast. Like that was the I think that's the best thing I ever came up with. Once I told people what it actually meant, like when I first decided to do a podcast, I was trying to think of a name because it was like it had to be something that meant something. So I was listening to a lot of podcasts at that time, and a lot of podcasts I listen to are, mostly of famous people. So the way I looked at it was, I'm not famous. So I'm like, if you took the time to listen to my podcast, then I have stolen your time.
Yeah.
And that's how I came up with the concept of the Stolen Time podcast, which I, turned it into the Stolen Time Network, all that type stuff. But like, so I always try to come up with stuff where it actually meant something. So that was the whole story behind the Stolen Time podcast. Was I felt that if you listen to it, I didn't deserve your time. I've stolen your time. So that's how I came up with that. And 28 minutes or less was just more of, I wanted my own vehicle to do something solo because I did the Stolen Time with my Uncle Washington, rest in peace to him. Is this one's just more simple. I wore the number 20 in basketball. I wore number 8 in football, and 28 minutes or less. You know what I'm saying? I just threw something together, man. And to answer the viewers anonymous question, so me and Scoots, like we've been working with each other for over 5 years now, around 5 years. And where I would come on to the Already Home, or he would come on to the Stolen Time podcast. And so probably we're coming up on our third year in January. And so he hit me one day and he was just like, yo, like, what do you think about doing a joint podcast? I was like, yo, I'm glad you said something because I was wanting to do a joint podcast, but I was just too afraid to say something. He was like, man, all you had to do was ask. And so he was just like, all right, so like, he's like, what you want to do? So we got the game plan in. So he was like, yo, we'll do a movie and TV review podcast. So he's like, all right, what you want to name it? So we on the phone, just trying to come up with stuff. We throwing ideas at each other, and he said viewers. I was like, all right. I was like, man, I'm trying to think. I was like, anonymous. He was like, that's it. And that's how we came up with it. Like he came up with viewers, I came up with anonymous, and it's like, and it just clicked and it worked. So that's the backstory of the names of how I got that. So let me throw one back at you, man. Listen,
Mhm.
I'm a talker, man.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
The link, man, Link Entertainment, man. Like, what was the link? Where did that come from?
That's a funny story. So, so we did music. Mine was more of a ruffian story, if you will. So we used to do music, recording and performing and stuff like that. And our group that we called ourselves Delinquents. So like, but we spelled it DALINK. So we shortened it up to the link. Well, where I came up with the link at, and I was like, man, everything I always say, shoot me the link, shoot me this
Yeah.
when I'm doing videos or doing videos or pictures, everything is link based. So
Yep.
when I initially started the business, it was videos, pictures. I'll go to a wedding, I'll shoot 300, 400 pictures, take everything that's good and send it to somebody. You know what I mean? But it's all link
Mhm.
based. So I just kept it and was like, hey, this is the link.
That's what's up. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, so man, that's crazy. You mentioned Uncle Washington, rest in peace, and I wanted to ask you about was he your biggest influence or the person you would say who had the most impact on you in podcasting, and then why?
He was more of influence in my life. Like a lot of people, I remember someone came up to me and they thought that we just called him Uncle Washington. I was like, no, he was my uncle for real. Like he married my aunt, so he was actually my uncle. And but he made me better at podcasting. I would say that he was an influence to me, but he was more of like a father figure. He was more of like, I mean, that dude was literally like my best friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, we I used to see him I used to go see him every day on Saturdays, and we would just chop it up for about 4 hours. And so when I came up with the podcast and actually asked him to come on to the podcast, I was just like, yo, we could do what we already do every week and we could just record it. You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of those podcasts we did, I mean, it ended at 214, but I say he was probably on like at least 200 episodes.
Mhm.
Like I seen this man, like, I mean, like those 200 episodes were just us, what we would have talked about anyway. You know what I mean? But he was a huge influence on me. I think he did definitely make me a better podcaster. But if we're talking just strictly podcasters, the person that was my biggest influence, who I tried to model myself after, is another person who unfortunately passed away, and that's Reggie Osei. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people know him as Comeback Jack.
Mhm.
And when I started listening to his podcast, I was completely blown away. Like the way that he could carry a podcast by himself, the way that he carried interviews. I just thought that that was the coolest man in the world. And it was sucked that he passed away. And like that's the person who I try to model myself after when I podcast. But those two people though, those are my one and two podcasters of all time. I don't care what nobody say. You can debate me, argue me. Like I think Uncle Washington was one of the greatest diamonds in the rough that there ever been. You know what I'm saying, on the mic ever. So, but yeah, he was a very huge influence on me, and he did make me a better podcaster.
I'm glad you mentioned him because I was going to ask about influences and whatnot, man. I remember listening to the Stolen Time podcast before I even met you, and hearing nuggets that was dropped and stuff like that, and I'm like, dang. So I'm a big supporter of like local podcast and music if it's good local music. Like I still buy CDs from people sitting outside the liquor store. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So that's just me. Like if I go and see somebody and they like, man, listen to my CD. How much? Oh, it's $1, and I got a 5. I'm gonna give you a 5, and I'm gonna take this CD. I hope it's good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not, but that's just me, including the podcasting. So, yeah, man, I'm glad you mentioned Uncle Washington for that reason. He did drop a lot of nuggets on Stolen Time podcast. And hey, I'm appreciative for him bringing you into podcasting because I probably would have never met you if it wasn't for you podcasting, period. So I appreciate him just
Yeah.
for that too, even though I never met him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like man, like you would have loved him, man. Uncle Washington was like he was the coolest man. He was the coolest man in the world, man. Like, and I know I'm biased, but like everyone that jumped on a podcast with him, like they were just like, because people would tell me all the time, they're like, yo, like yeah, like you good and all, Uncle Washington though, that's that dude, and they was like, yeah, that's that dude, and like dude, and like for me, I've never had an ego, never had an ego. I was just like, yo, like for me, I looked at it like y'all are just hearing him on the podcast for an hour, hour and a half. Like I get these gems like all the time. Like
Hmm.
so I was lucky enough to have like that type person, you know what I'm saying, that was in my life and someone that I could podcast with. And I didn't mind that he was better than me because like I looked at it like this is like our vehicle. So it's just like, the whole thing is putting out great material. Like
Hmm.
that's the whole point. You put out great material, great content, you know what I'm saying? The listeners and the people will come later. And but yeah, man, it was just unfortunate, how it ended up happening because like, dude, like the saddest part about it is the like when he was able to speak and because a lot of health stuff ended up happening, but all he would talk about is how much he wanted to come back on the podcast, and he thought that I was disappointed in him. He was like, I'm sorry that I can't, I'm not able to pod. I'm like, like you get better, like don't like he was so anxious to get back to podcasting. He unfortunately he was never able to come back, but yeah, but it's tough, man. It was tough, man, because it was so bad to where you know what I'm saying. Like I ended the Stolen Time podcast because it was just like nobody can replace that dude in my eyes. So it was just like I had to end it. But yeah, you would have loved him, man. Like he would have been a great person to have on any podcast because I think what made us so different, and Scoots brought this up all the time, was, I'm in my 30s and he's in his 60s. And he
Yeah.
was just like, what I brought, what I'm saying, the younger stuff, and he brought, what I'm saying, that wisdom that was unmatched with all the things that he'd been through in his life. And it helped a lot that he was actually from New York. Like he moved down here in 2000. So
Okay.
like all of those stories from living in New York and the things that he experienced and all of that type stuff. Like we had to create a segment because he used to tell us so many great stories. We had a segment called Tales from New York, where he would just tell like a story, like us. Like he was the most interesting man in the world. I can go all day. I need to stop, but like it was just like, dude, like okay, I give your fans one nugget, and I'm gonna let you get to it. So he was that type of guy where so Malcolm X, right? So Malcolm
Mhm.
X was assassinated in the ballroom.
Mhm.
So he was like, yo, he was like, we was a block away. Him and his friend, they sitting on the step, sitting there chopping it up. Some people running down the street and they're like, yo, Malcolm X just got shot. So he's like, he walks down to the ballroom and he was like, when he was out there, that's when they was carrying him out on a gurney.
Mhm.
And if you see it, I don't know, your history book might have been different because we in different states, but there was a picture of when Malcolm X was being brought out on the gurney. There's like, 100 people standing in the background. He was one of those people. I mean, come on,
Man.
man. Like, it's it's crazy. It's crazy. Like the stories that he have is just like, it's wild, man. So it was great having someone like that on the podcast.
Hey, that's crazy, man. We would have had so many jokes like, "Hey, listen, bro, y'all better leave him alone. He gonna, he know, he know everybody. Y'all better leave him alone." Hey, that's crazy, man. Shout out to Uncle Washington. I'd like to go back and listen to some more of the Stolen Time podcast because obviously I haven't heard all 214 episodes, but the ones I did hear, I really did enjoy. So yeah, man. Shout out to Uncle Washington. I gotta hear them stories now. I love hearing people's stories. I ain't even gonna lie. So you mentioned him being in a situation to where he was in the picture during that event. So how do you think those situations now? I guess I want to say, how do you think podcasting in events? So let's say he had podcasting back then when that happened. How do you
Mhm.
think podcasting would have affected his culture, and how do you think it affects ours?
Um, I think that back then, I mean, their podcast was radio.
Right.
And and radio reached a lot of people back then. I mean, because him being the age that he was, I think when he passed, I think he was 69. So, he had to like listen to like baseball games and shit like that on the radio. So, but the avenue that radio was, like, they didn't really get into stuff that we kind of speak about like on podcasting. So, um, I think that's a difficult question to ask, because I think that even though podcast is not as new anymore as it was, because I mean, Rogan been podcasting for like 12, 15 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the word podcast, like, a lot of us didn't know what it was till probably, like, I mean, I didn't know what podcast was till like 5.5 years ago. I didn't even know what a podcast was. So I think that the effect that it had, especially now, I think it's great, man, because I feel that with like the story I just told you, the way I look at podcasting, like, I would never say that I'm the greatest or anything like that. But what I will tell you is what you would hear on the Stolen Time podcast, or what you would hear on the 28 Minutes or Less, or the Viewers Anonymous, you're not going to hear it anywhere else.
Right.
Even though we could talk about the same subjects as other people, like the great Charlemagne the God always says, like, the best advice I can give you on podcasting is be yourself, because nobody can be you but you.
Right.
So I think that what I bring to the table and the effect that I have, like, in this podcast game, is like, I'm giving you personal stories from myself that you're not going to get from anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Uncle Washington gave personal stories that you're not going to get from anywhere else. So I think that effect right there, if you can only, touch, what I'm saying, a person or two, I think you did your job. Like, the reason I feel great is because, I have a guy, like, I brought, like, the last guest that I had on 28 Minutes or Less was my guy Tyrone Collins, and him just telling me, like, yo, like, listening to the Stolen Time podcast is something that made me like, yo, I got to get my shit together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to, there's things I have to change. I have to, he was like, yo, he was like, he saw the way that I was like marketing my podcast. He was like, he changed the way he marketed, because he did YouTube videos and stuff like that. So he
Mm-hmm.
was like, I changed the way I did things because of you. So I'm like, yo, if I'm affecting him, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like Jamar, like, before JD, before he started the podcast, he called and asked me.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to have a part in this dude starting a whole network, you know what I'm saying? And for him to say, yo, this wouldn't be happening without Sdotfoster, like, it's like, yo, I done my job. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like, that's how I view, like, that question that you just asked me.
Right. And so I was thinking about this too while you were talking or whatever. Like, yeah, they didn't have it back then like we do now, but could you imagine uncensored, unfiltered,
Ah,
freedom of speech podcast in the 60s? I think it would have been crazy. It
yeah,
would have been
it
crazy.
would definitely been crazy. But I think that with that though, because the government wouldn't have been able to, I think that it would have been so advanced. They 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 couldn't find a way to, like, shut them down. I mean, no, I'm lying. They found a way to shut them down, just like they shut down all the black leaders. They killed them all. But
Yeah.
yeah, like, yeah, it would have been more assassinations.
It would have been mayhem.
Yeah, it would have been nuts. I'm talking about, it would have been nuts, man. So, because I mean, just think, like, there wasn't a lot of black radio stations, and even the black radio stations that it was, like, they wasn't giving you uncensored talk. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I'm kind of glad that it wasn't because I think that, you put some people like Uncle Washington, he didn't hold his tongue for nobody. So yeah, they would have definitely arrested him. You know what I'm saying? Tried to shoot him or something. You know what I'm saying? With the stuff that he would have been talking about. So yeah, I'm kind of glad it wasn't no podcast back then.
Yeah, and I think in our society too, it's interesting how it happens now, where you could be on a podcast with really no formal training. Like, so somebody like myself, I have a degree in mass media communications with a focus in radio and television. You know what I mean? So I've been on radios,
Mhm.
actual radio stations before, primarily for music purposes, but not. You know what I'm saying? It's similar in terms of being in front of a microphone, and being able to navigate equipment relatively easily. Sometimes we have technical issues, but like like I did when we tried to start this up. But anyway, all right. But yeah, man. So I think now you can just kind of what I'm interesting. A person that's interesting, they can be like, I'm interesting. I have something to offer. Let me offer it, and then really you could be your own vehicle to do whatever you need to do, which is kind of
which,
fascinating in that sense.
which is me.
Real true facts. And then you just said you have been helping other people. You know what I'm saying? So you've been helping other people get on their vehicles. You know what I'm saying? And drive it too. So I think that's uh I think that's fantastic too. Um, so so my question too about podcasting in general. So did you always have a passion for like and movies and TV shows?
Always, always, man. I grew like I have a sister that I grew up with all my life, an older sister, and so I'm the baby on my mom's side, and I am the middle on my dad's side. But even though like having siblings and like having like a lot of cousins and shit, I was alone a lot, and
Mhm.
I'm really a loner. So like what I would do in that alone time is I always watch movies and TV shows and shit. So with watching like so much material and then definitely watching shit that I didn't supposed to be watching at that age.
Right,
Doing that shit now because my youngest son he loves to watch like a lot of the type of stuff that I watch. He don't supposed to be watching it, but he watch it anyway.
right.
Um, but like yeah, like dude, like I went to the movies in 1995 to go see Candyman 2. I was 10. I didn't supposed to be watching
So me and okay,
no
man.
Candyman at 10 years old at the movies. But you know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, man, I've always had a passion for movies and TV and cinema, man. And the the great thing about podcasting is the fact of even if like we spoke earlier before we start recording, we were just like, I just said I don't, communicate with a lot of people. And then with not communicating with a lot of people, having so many opinions and not having anyone to share them to.
Mhm.
So that's the great thing about podcasting because like all of those thoughts that I've been wanting to give about like, what I'm saying, this movie, that TV show, I could just jump on a podcast and I could just tell anybody who clicks play. You know what I'm saying? So that's the great thing about podcasting and having a love for cinema and movies and stuff like that. Yeah, that stuff go way back, man. So I can do this all day, every day.
Same. I love cinema too. That's why when I heard y'all started Viewers Anonymous, I was like, oh yeah, that's getting added. Yeah. They be like,
Hey,
he be having spoilers on there. I'm like, spoilers don't hurt me. Like that just make me want to see how it happened. Like,
oh
you
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, hey, so it's like even in like, all right, so I'm a Marvel fan, big Marvel fan. I'm a DC fan too. So I've systematically like go through everything that they do, and
Hmm.
sometimes I go back and watch it chronologically to see the story happen because they want to bounce around storylines and stuff. But
Yeah.
but anyway, uh, to make this story shorter, I so I would listen to your podcast, and you'll be talking about a show, right? Y'all sometimes say things that happen in the show, and I'm like, man, I wonder if this is what they gonna say. What actually is happening towards the end, or something happened to somebody? Then y'all say it. And so one of the other brothers, E, shout out to E, he was like, they talking about Snowfall, bro. I can't go on there and listen to Snowfall. They gonna say what happened because I ain't that far yet. I said, bro, the best thing about spoilers is they tell you what happened, and then you get to see it unfold, bro. You gotta stop. You gotta stop that spoiler. You gotta stop that spoiler stuff, bro. So yeah, I love cinema that much, like to where, you know what I'm saying. I'll watch something or I'll listen to something about that said thing, and if it sound more interesting listening to y'all, like y'all really the reason why I started watching Snowfall. I ain't even gonna lie to you, because even trying to get me to watch it forever, like watch Snowfall. It's sweet, bro. I ain't gonna tell you what happened. Then I'm like, let me listen to them. So I listen to y'all. Y'all talking about the show. I'm like, all right, it's interesting. I gotta check it out.
Hey man,
So
Snowfall's that deal, man. I love Snowfall, man. We
yeah,
got we got one more season to go, man. One more season to go, man.
I know,
So
man. That's
yeah,
crazy.
we're gonna have to find another show, man, to do on Viewers Anonymous. But like, yeah, man, Snowfall, man. Yeah, that show. That's one of the best shows to hit the TV screens, man. Shout out to John Singleton
Yeah,
and Damson Interest too.
for sure. All right, so we talked about Snowfall. We know you like that show since you like cinema, man. You got a top couple movies, top 3 movies or something that you like?
Ooh, okay. Top three movies. Oh, that's I can only do three. So if I gotta do three, like I've always said, like
Uh,
okay,
how much you got to expand it to make it simpler? You ain't even got to put it in
uh,
order.
oh, I got an order, man. I got an order. So okay, I'm gonna give you my five. I'm gonna give you my five, right?
Right.
So if I can only give you five, I'll start at five. I gotta go. Let me see. I gotta go. Juice.
Great
I
movie.
gotta go. Juice. I gotta go. Dead Presidents.
Yeah, good movie.
You know what I'm
Great.
saying? I gotta go. I gotta. You know what? Hold on. Let me back this up. Let me rephrase that. I gotta go. I gotta go. The Bone Collector. I'm sorry. The Bone Collector
Okay.
at five. Then I'm gonna go Dead Presidents. Then I'm gonna go The Negotiator.
That was a great movie too. That's an
Very good movie.
underrated movie.
Very underrated movie, man. Shout out to F. Gary Gray. Um, I gotta go Inception.
That's a
Love
great movie too.
Inception. And then my number one movie, I always tell people this, and people just look at me like I'm crazy. Zodiac. You know what I'm saying?
Remember?
The 2007 version, the one with Mark Ruffalo and Jake Gyllenhaal and Robert Downey Jr. That's my shit, man. Like,
Why they look
yo,
at you crazy though? Everybody got their
I
five.
I don't
Everybody got
I
their.
don't know.
That wouldn't be in my five, but hey, that's a good movie though.
But see, dude, I've been down that Zodiac wormhole, man. Like, I'm fascinated with that case, man. That case is still open to this day. Like, I know
Mhm.
watched countless documentaries on it. Man, I've watched the other movie because there was a movie called The Zodiac that came out in I think '05, and then they came out with this one. And this one, the '07 version was based on Robert Graysmith's like vision of it, and he was the cartoonist that worked at the San Francisco Chronicle. So, and it's just like to me, the way that was put together, like that movie is just great to me, man. Like I love that shit. Like I can watch that movie almost every time it's on. Like I'm watching it. Like yeah, that's my shit.
All right. So did you do a review on that one? I can't remember. Did you do a review on
Yes,
the Zodiac?
we did actually all the movies I mentioned. Okay, so the Bone Collector I did solo on the 28 minutes or less.
Mm,
We did Dead Presidents on the Viewers Anonymous. I did the Negotiator myself on the 28. Um, let me see what I say. Damn, Inception. We did Inception on Viewers Anonymous, and we did Zodiac on Viewers Anonymous. So we done
you done
them
them all?
all. Like I've done them all. Yeah, I definitely done them all. I had to do two of them solo. It was just like, yo, I got to do this myself. Like, I'm sorry, Scoops. I gotta break these down myself. So, but yeah, you know what I'm saying, was able to get in depth with all of
Cool. So movies is another one of those things where I don't really have to ask you what the impact on culture is, because it's kind of like one of those things where that's more multifaceted. It's not as direct as podcasting in terms of you can get on the mic on a podcast, say what you feel, or give your opinions like you do on Viewers Anonymous about the films and cinema. But how important, as a film buff, is the music in the films, the soundtracks or scores, if you will? How important do you weight those?
them. Man, it's very monumental. Like, I don't think you can, like, most movies, you can't even, like, the movie can't even function without it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you think about the Halloween theme song, when Michael Myers pop out, it's like, come on, man, are you serious? That's why John Carpenter is like one of the like masters of horror. It's just like he came out with the piano joint, and it's just
Yeah.
like you mesmerized. Like, that's my favorite series. Like franchise Halloween. Like like Halloween, the 1978 version. It's in my top 10. So it's actually literally like the greatest movie, like with the lowest budget, like to ever come out. Like, they had like a meal. Like, it was, I can't remember exactly because it was a documentary on it. They had like maybe a meal, a point five, a meal point five, and they created a monster. But like, just that piano sound like changed it forever. But for me though, like one of the best soundtracks. Come on, man, that's easy, man. Dead Presidents.
Their
Like,
presidents had a great
come on,
soundtrack.
what? Are you
That's
kidding
it.
me?
That had like you could literally probably just get the soundtrack and play it in your ride, like
That's it. What?
like facts,
Isaac
man.
Hayes, Curtis Mayfield. Like, see, look. For me, honestly, look, man. Like, oh, I'm an old music head. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And like, if you just watch Dead Presidents, like, come on, man. Like, yeah, that soundtrack was amazing. Like, even though it was just more put together, like it wasn't like a soundtrack. Like if you ask me what's the best soundtrack that was like created like for the movie, I would have to go Black Panther because Kendrick Lamar crafted that. Like, it was all new music. But
Yeah,
Dead Presidents, they just took old tracks that went along with that time and they just put them all together. But
yeah,
like, yeah, if we're talking about something that's created, then I'm gonna have to go Black Panther. But if you're talking about like like a collection of tracks that's put together that actually goes along with the movie, oh man, Dead Presidents all day.
yeah. Their presidents was a crazy soundtrack. Just that's music you literally hear at cookouts too. Like you can go to somebody's cookout,
Yep.
you're gonna hear about 4 or 5 of them joints at the
Oh
cookout. like
yeah. Oh
like
yeah, man.
period.
That
The
was
soundtrack.
killer, man. Man,
Yeah.
what?
And
Man,
the
they had
crazy
Hell Below on there.
And the crazy thing is that I don't even think about how good I didn't even think about how actually good that soundtrack was until you just said it. I'm like, dang, they did have Isaac Hayes on that one.
Man, they had two Isaac Hayes joints on
Hey,
there,
that
man. They
was
had Walk
crazy.
On By. Wait a minute. No, wait, no. Was the Sound of Love? Yeah, the Sound of Love was on there too, I believe. I have to go back and search it. I'm saying, I'm just going off memory right now, but I know Walk On By was on there because they played Walk On By in the movie twice.
Twice, yeah, twice.
You know what I'm saying? And that end scene was crazy when he was. You know what I'm saying, he was when he was in the bus. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Heading in, and then that's the best. I don't care what none of y'all say. If y'all want to argue me, it's Sdotfoster 8. The best intro to a song ever, Walk On By. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Like a whole minute without a word. And like, and that was just like the greatest, the build up, man. Come on, man. Isaac Hayes is that deal.
I ain't gonna lie. I as far as intros to songs, I gotta go back and do some research on. It's a cold intros to songs out there.
It is.
But
But
yeah,
there's just Yeah, that's just my
That's up
personal
there. That's
opinion.
up there.
I love Walk On By though, man. That's a great track, man. Even though, man, he just didn't want to see a woman to see him cry, man. I mean,
Right. Hey, I think the thing I like about like best about like I said, music or even cinema versus uh podcasts specifically in culture is like the way the feeling of it, man. Like you can't lie. Like when you hear a Dead President soundtrack or even Juice soundtrack for that matter,
yep,
Paid in Full.
yep,
Uh, shoot, you can even say 8 Mile. 8 Mile ain't that great of a soundtrack comparatively to the other ones I mentioned, but like even when you hear those, it's like your specific culture. You know what I mean? Like, hey, they made something for us finally. Like,
yeah,
that's how I be feeling. Like I ain't gonna lie to me anyway. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I think
No,
that's
no, no.
important.
You're right. You're right. You're definitely right, man. And a lot of people don't know that. Speaking of Jews, like know the ledge. A lot of people don't know, like, so when they came to Rakim about doing they was like, yo, we basically want you to do like the theme song for for Juice or whatever.
Mhm.
So for the people that don't know, like he's seen the early screening of Juice, like so they gave him a copy of the movie so he could watch it to come up with a song. So Know the Ledge is actually about Juice,
Mhm.
and my man went in there and cooked everything up himself. He did the beat, he did the scratching, he wrote all the lyrics, all that.
Mhm.
Like Rakim literally did that whole song himself. So
I love Rakim, and he started putting out these videos with this DJ. I cannot remember he a famous DJ. I cannot remember his name though for nothing. But if you know him, you'll see him. Bald head, kind of thin, regular, I guess average size, white dude or whatever. But man, listen, Rakim still be flowing. I don't care what nobody say, bro.
hey man, Rakim the God, man.
Hey, he cold with it. But yeah, man, that soundtrack was great. Like that
Yeah.
soundtrack was great too. But anyway, y'all digress on the music side. But like you said, we talkers, man. But whatever.
Yeah.
We talkers. We start talking about Isaac Hayes. I'm like Curtis Mayfield. I'm like, dang, he got me. Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I love music, man. I got a record player in that bug. I got speakers sitting over there. Man, hey, this music. Shoot, I got guitars and pianos in this mug. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So we talked about film. We talked about music. We talked about podcasts. Oh, one other thing I do got to mention too, because this is gonna be a point about the next topic, which is gonna be sports. But I said that I was looking at listening to music, and sometimes it'd be like, man, they made something for us, but it's also something that bring people together too, um, which is cool. It sometimes is good, sometimes it's bad, but whatever. People be getting too cool, but anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, people be getting too cool. But again, that'll be a topic for another day. So let's move on to sports, man. So everybody who know or listen to the 4-3 podcast knows you are the biggest Seminole fan. Biggest Seminole fan. How the heck did you start being a Seminole fan, bro?
Oh man, I gotta tell it on here. Okay, so for the people that don't know, Ohio, man. I'm from South Carolina. Lived here pretty much all my life except the 2 years I was in West Virginia when I went to college. And so how it happened, the only way I can explain it, man, is so when I was a kid. For the people that don't know, Florida State, there was a time where they was in the top five for 14 straight years.
Yep.
And so they played in the national championship in 1993. Charlie Ward, Ward Dunn, Derek Brooks, and I thought that Bobby Bowden was the coolest white man I've ever seen in my entire life. I just thought, man, I would listen to him in interviews. I'm like, man, that's the coolest guy ever, yo. And when you in the top five for 14 straight years, it's like, yo, the way, because people don't know, you know, you're my age. Like, there wasn't that many channels back then, and there wasn't that many games on.
Mm.
Florida State was always on. So it's like, yo, they always winning. They good. They always on. So I became a Florida State fan. So that's really how that ended up happening. And I just thought that Bobby Bowden was the coolest guy ever, and they won all the time. So I just ended up liking them, and I've been a fan ever since.
Yeah, man. Hey, they're looking like they might be trending upward.
I don't know, man. I'm not gonna let that game do it. Look, the test is this Sunday, okay?
I ain't gonna
LSU
say
prime
because of the
time.
game. I ain't gonna say because of the game. But like one of the brothers said in the chat when he was talking about sports and the topics back and forth, that offensive line could not have been no worse. They gotta be
Man,
better.
yeah, man. Look, we've been in a drought for about the past about 6 years, but we done had like the worst offensive line in college football, man. And I will put it this way: it's kind of those, you know what I'm saying, glass half full, half empty. But then at the same time, it's kind of like for them to be as bad as they was, and to have three running backs to go over 100 yards rushing. But then it's kind of like, yeah, but it's Duquesne. You know what I mean? It's like, oh no, I don't know how viable it could be. You know what I'm saying? Having 300-yard rushes and you playing Duquesne. So like, let's see what next week brings. You know what I'm saying? We playing a SEC team. You know what I'm saying? LSU. So let's see how that running game be next week.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, y'all have some historically great individuals on y'all team throughout the history of Florida
Oh
State.
man.
Not even gonna lie. Some of the best, of the best at some, like you said, Derek Brooks, Hall of Famer. We ain't even gonna mention one of my favorite players. We ain't even gonna get into the cornerback discussion because we gonna be sitting here arguing. The greatest to me corner ever came from there, but whatever.
Hey, he number two. He number two to me. You know what I'm saying? He number two to me. But
That's what's
you know
up.
what I'm saying? That's kind of, I kind of got a personal beef, even though half of it's not his fault. Like, and I've just found this out last year actually, because I never knew what happened. But like, for the people that don't know what I'm talking about, well, who we talking about? Deion Sanders. Obviously a no great. Um, Went to the Falcons, did his thing. Then he came to San Francisco, and the one year he was there, won a Super Bowl, and then the next thing you know, he's a Dallas Cowboy, and I'm like, yo, what the hell? And I found out what happened. He said that basically they didn't even offer him a new contract. I thought it was him the whole time, but he was like, they did not offer me a contract, and he felt offended by that, so he went to the Cowboys. And the Cowboys is my most hated team that's on this planet. So I gotta hate them now. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? I don't like you no more, man. I mean, you a cowboy. Like, come on. So that's what it is, man. Like, I got a little personal grudge against the Cowboys, and now this makes my story even more fitting because what I was about to say was the reason I hate the Cowboys is because of Herschel Walker, and now Herschel Walker is out here embarrassing himself all
Yeah.
over America. But for the people that don't know, what started the Cowboys, run again in the '90s, because they had their run in the '70s and they was trash, and then they got good again, was the Herschel Walker trade when they traded him to the Vikings. And that's not that. Now I see. I got to see. Look, this is how crazy I am. I got a beef with the Vikings too, because for them trading for him, and people don't know that trade got them Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and your boy Michael Irvin.
Mm-hmm.
So that one Herschel Walker trade ruined my '90s.
It be like that sometimes, man. I ain't gonna lie, because Art Modell ruined my whole Browns fandom. He ruined my whole entire fandom, though. So I feel you. Man. He still deserves to get in the Hall of Fame, though. But hey, man, the Ravens, bro, I cannot stand the Ravens. I cannot stand them. Like, you know what? We just gonna move out and do better.
Yeah.
But y'all gonna suck for 30 years, though. Y'all go ahead and suck. We gonna be over here winning Super Bowls. Like, come on. I blame the mayor of the city at that time too, bum. But but anyway,
Yeah, that was crazy.
that was crazy. But yeah, so forget the Ravens. Bengals too in the Steelers. All three of them. Forget them. I got a little bit of love for the Bengals because they ain't won a Super Bowl yet either. So, hey,
Hey,
just as long as
hey,
they
I
be the
rock with the
last one, they cool.
look. I rock with the Bengals. My Niners beat them twice in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, hey, y'all keep on beating them in the Super Bowl if they get back. Don't let them win nothing. I ain't gonna lie, don't let them win nothing. But so have you reviewed a bunch of sports movies on viewers yet?
Actually, we have. We done. Let me see. I don't think we did the movie Remember the Titans, but we spoke about it because
I
we
did the
did a thing
program
on
thing.
Denzel. But did we do the program? I can't remember if we. I think we did do the
I
program.
did the
I think.
program. I think so.
I fought with the program. Um, we did Varsity Blues.
Oh, that's the one I'm thinking
Um,
about, Varsity Blues. I might have did the program
yeah,
too, though.
yeah. But yeah, like man, I grew up on movies like that, man. Like actually, Varsity Blues was one of the reasons I was scared to go to varsity, man. Like that movie came out in '99, dude. I was in the eighth grade in '99. So I'm sitting here, I'm watching Varsity Blues, and like the way they hitting on there, I'm like, yo, this is how they gonna be hitting. Like this is what happens. Even though like see, I was one of the dudes who I hit my growth spurt early. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like I've been this same height since seventh grade. I've been 6'2", like since then. Like I just shot up and stopped. So I was on the C team, the ninth grade team when I was in seventh grade. And I
Right.
was on the junior varsity team in eighth grade. So I was already around like the varsity dudes anyway. But
Right.
like for some odd reason that movie was like I was like, yo, like that's how they hit though. Like, like they hit people mouthpieces falling out. Like, I'm like, yo, well, I don't know. I might want to rethink this thing. But but yeah, we done a few. Man, it's getting to the point now, man. Like, yo, we coming up. Actually, this podcast that we're doing this Friday is gonna be our 200th episode.
See, I need sound effects on StreamYard so I can hit them with the clap.
So yeah. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. But like I say that to say like it gets to the point where you kind of forget some of the stuff that you done because we done so many, and I can't really pinpoint like all the stuff that we done. But like yeah, those are like but movies like the program, you know what I'm saying, that shaped me. You know, Varsity Blues, Remember the Titans, because I got a personal story. Remember the Titans, man. When we I was fortunate enough to win a state championship, and that week that we like after we won the upper state championship, like they did like something for us every day that week.
Mhm.
And so this was 2003, but if I'm not mistaken, Remember the Titans came out in 2001. So what they did, like they did like a screening for us at the movies, and we went and watched Remember the Titans in the movies like that week. That was
Oh,
one of the
nice.
activities that they had for us. And but yeah, like that's another movie that I hold, you know what I'm saying, pretty dear too. Cause then I'm like I said, I'm a huge history guy. You know what I'm saying? And to see the story of, you know, TC Williams and, you know, how they, you know, integrated the school and all that type shit. So but yeah, like yeah, stuff like that. I'm with that type stuff all day.
Yeah, in fact, that was a great sports movie too. Which one's your favorite though?
It depends on what angle we take in here. Like, I mean, if you're taking from, you know what I'm saying, historical point and like a movie as a whole, like yeah, like Remember the Titans, but if you're talking about, you know what I'm saying, stuff that's more relatable, then yeah, it's gonna be more like the program is gonna be more Varsity Blues. You know what I'm saying? Also a movie that I haven't mentioned, Any Given Sunday. Like that was that joint. Now, we did do it. I remember doing Any Given
Yeah, I know.
Sunday.
I remember y'all did that one too. Yeah,
We did that one. Like, yeah, that movie is wow. but yeah, like yeah, just to name a few, like you know what I'm saying, a few of those, but you know what I'm saying, but that's just football. Like if we're talking basketball, like one of my favorite movies, which is kind of odd that my youngest son, he used to watch this movie religiously. He used to watch Glory Road all the time.
Oh yeah.
Like great movie. Great movie. But yeah, like I love sports movies, man. We're not getting a lot of them like we used to anymore. And then like even when we do, they're not like the movies that I just mentioned. Like I feel like a lot of sports movies are falling by the wayside. Like I don't know if like the actors are like getting to the point where they don't want to do like these stunts anymore, or whatever the case may be. But like I don't feel like we had a great like sports movie like that in a while.
Yeah, like I believe like when we were growing up, we had even sports movies specifically directed towards kids, like Rookie of the Year, The Sandlot, those type of movies.
Mhm.
We don't even get those anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
Angels of the Outfield, all that type of stuff. We don't get none of that.
but yeah, we did the Sandlot. Sandlot, that's the joint. Like
Yeah, it
that's the
is,
joint.
man.
Like we did the Sandlot on there. But yeah, you're right, man. Like Angels in the Outfield. What's the one joint with my man? Where he broke his arm and he started throwing 100.
That's
Um,
that's Rookie of the Year, I think.
that's Rookie of the Year.
I
Like
think. Yeah.
like yeah, like we don't get stuff like that no more. Even though I wasn't huge into this, but like Mighty Ducks, like we don't
Oh yeah.
really we don't really get it no more. Man, Little Giants, come on.
Oh, we didn't even say Little Giants. Yeah, shame on me.
Man,
Shame
that
on
is
me for not
yo,
mentioning it. And
that's that that's
Hardball too. Hardball was pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah, hardball too, but man, Little Giants was my joint, boy.
Man, that's
Icebox.
crazy. I'm about to go pull them out. Like, all right, son, here's your sit down right now. Watch
Yes,
these.
sir.
Hey, well, that's crazy. I think it's beautiful that you know what I'm saying. Even though we older now, we can go back and revisit some of those sports movies, especially being a sports podcaster as we are. You know what I mean? Talking about those kind of things. I don't know, man. It just kind of make me realize now, like, dang, man, a lot of those things had a lot of influences on me too. Like, why I love sports so much. Earlier, you had mentioned Uncle Washington. Listen, they had to listen to baseball. I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes I still be in the car listening to baseball. You know what I'm saying, when I'm driving through Ohio or whatever, got to listen to my Reds because sometimes it's a little too slow on TV. Uh, and if I want to take a nap, then maybe, but but it's a little more interesting when you drive and listening to it or whatever. But movies though, you get that perfect balance between it being sensationalized and then actually still loving that sport. So I think that's crazy, man. The Little Giants, bro. What the heck? I forgot
Little
all about
Giants.
that. I forgot all about that damn
Man,
movie.
Little Giants, man. Hey, and then look, speaking of baseball, you know what I'm saying? We don't get no more major leagues.
Oh no.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, man, it's like I don't know. I guess they feel like sports movies ain't gonna make money now, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I guess that's
Golly.
how they viewing it.
They give us 50 Batmans, 50 Spider-Mans, which I don't got a problem with 25 of them, but the other 25 they can keep.
Yep.
Add me some more sports though. But yeah,
Yep.
man. So last but not least, man. So obviously I said we was 2/5 of the 4-3 podcast. Um and then so we do that show. We're gonna be doing that every Friday now. Every Friday at 9, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean that's something we still gotta communicate with because I think you said you get off at 9. So we still gonna have some time for you to come in. So I don't know, man. We're gonna have to get all the guys on the horn and maybe push it to, I don't know, 9:15 or something like that. So it'll be because so it don't be a situation where you always jumping in and you know what I'm saying and you ain't really get everything and what's been said and all that type stuff. So yeah,
Cool,
well,
cool, cool. Well, everybody who listening, man, be prepared for that on Fridays. We got some more debating to do. I'm gonna try to sneak a cornerback debate in there eventually, eventually. Or maybe I'll do that on the C podcast. with my man E when I bring that back too on Tuesdays. Uh, so yeah, man. But anyway, man, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for sharing your stories and your nuggets. Is there anything that you want to say before we go off here? Drop your tags or
Yeah, y'all can follow me at S.Foster8 on Instagram and on Twitter. At 28 minutes or less pod. That's only on IG. You can follow the podcast on all major platforms, 28 minutes or less. I just dropped episode 98, which was Animal Kingdom season finale, man. A great show, man. That's a show I've been invested in since 2016. They ended it on me. I was just telling Scoots, I got very emotional. There was a lot of death in the final scenes, so so I really felt it. So y'all can go check that out on all major platforms. Also, we've been mentioning it throughout the podcast, the Views Anonymous podcast. You can follow that at View Anon Pod. That's on IG and it's on Twitter. It's on all major platforms, but you can get the video of the last like 6 episodes on Spotify. Only on Spotify you can get the video, and everything else is just audio. You also can follow the Facebook page at the A Podcast Watch Group. I think that's everything other than the 4-3 stuff.
Cool. So yeah, man. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the tags. I follow all of the pages, so I'm gonna drop those descriptions in the bottom of the video, so y'all will be able to follow my man S.Foster, get the nuggets. Go back and listen to the Stolen Time podcast, get those nuggets and stories from S. and Uncle Washington. Definitely go back and do that. I want to hear that story again about. I ain't gonna lie about him being in the back of the Malcolm X thing. That sounds like it's about to go crazy. But anyway, y'all go listen to that, man, and check him out. Man, again, I appreciate you coming on here, man. We gotta do this again. Man, we definitely gotta do this again.
Oh man, for sure, man. You know, I'm always down the pod, man. I love this shit, man. It's therapeutic. It's great, man, because like I say, man, like that's just one story. Like, man, I got another story about this dude, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know if people even know who this figure is. Do you know who Larry Davis is?
That sounds familiar, but no, not off the top of my head.
So Larry Davis. So something that I do on the 28 minutes or less, right? Like I like created my own little series that I do. You know how people like love like crime like stories and like
Oh yeah.
like those murder podcasts and stuff like that. Like I started my own little series where I take like what I'm saying, like drug figures and I do podcasts on them. Like I did Freeway Ricky Ross, right?
Mm.
That was the last one that I did. I
That
did Larry
that one
Davis.
was great, by the way.
Appreciate that. So I did Larry Davis like a year ago, and Larry Davis was a person that he wasn't really known for really being a drug dealer, but the story about Larry Davis is, in a nutshell, is he was accused of shooting a cop in New York, and they went on the largest manhunt in New York history. They were looking for him for 2 weeks, right? So the story about him, what makes his story fascinating is like they ended up finding him and they ended up paralyzing him in prison because you know how it is. He was accused of shooting a cop. COs beat him up and they ended up paralyzing him when he was behind the bars. But the reason I bring it up is because this go all the way back to episode 4. You know what I'm saying? So I asked Uncle Washington, I said, if you could do a biopic on anybody, who would you do? So he's thinking about it. I was like, well, why you thinking? I tell you who I do. So I was like, one of the people I said I would do Fred Hampton. For the people that know me, that's my favorite figure, period. Like out of Barack Obama, out of Malcolm X, out of Martin Luther King, like Fred Hampton is my guy, Chairman Fred. But anyway, I said I would want to do a biopic on him, and I said I want to do Larry Davis, right?
Yeah.
This guy tells me, oh yeah, Larry Davis. Yeah, he was hiding out in the projects that I lived at.
Yeah. See, y'all gotta go listen to this dude.
And he said it so nonchalant, like it was nothing. I'm like, dude, it was a 2 week manhunt for this guy. And he was like, yeah, he was like, Larry knew. He was like, the thing that people don't know about the projects is if you go down to the basements, if you know your way around, you can go to project building to project building.
Mm.
And he's like, that's what Larry was doing. He was like, everybody was like, they were looking for him outside. They couldn't find him. He was like, yeah, because he went down to the basement and he would go into the other project building. And I'm like, dude, like you just he was just around like this crazy shit, man. So it's just like, man, it's so many stories, man. It's
That's
so
crazy, bro.
man, he got a Walt Frazier story, man.
Hey,
Like
he crazy, bro. Hey, listen, that's crazy.
I'm telling you, dude, it's
Man,
wild, man. Like I wish I could pinpoint this stuff. I can't because like we talk so much, but you know, he told a story. He was at a bar with his friend, and he said his friend, um, he said Walt Frazier was just at a bar, and he had like his legs like kicked up, and his friend wanted to be hard and told Walt Frazier to move his feet. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, Walt Frazier, like he moved them or whatever, whatnot. But he was just like, you know what I'm saying? Yo, that was unnecessary. Like, man, that's Walt Frazier. Like, what are you doing? You know, like, so
leave that
it's
man
just
alone.
yeah, you know, so it's just like, y'all, I'm telling y'all, like, there's so many just wild stories on the Stolen Time podcast, man. It's so much great material, but like I tell everybody, I know I'm doing all this talking, but like I tell everybody, even though he passed away, the one great thing is like Stolen Time podcast is out there. Like it's not going anywhere. So I always can go back and hear his voice and hear his stories, man. It's like I always find myself going back. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't gonna lie, like I missed the dude. Like that was my guy. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's always great to go back and just listen to his voice. You know what I'm saying? And maybe I forgot a story or something and go back so I always go back and listen to episodes as well.
Yeah, man, y'all definitely gotta go check that out. Them stories is crazy. They funny, but they crazy. Like I said before, they drop some nuggets on there too. So check that out. You're a big movie fan, they got that for you too. You can go, or even TV shows. I'm about to limit it to movies and TV shows. As you mentioned, he did some on 28 minutes or less. Also on Viewers Anonymous. Go check those out. Uh, Man, if y'all talking about spoilers, man, don't even hit my at. Don't hit my at with no sport talk about, but they give away the movie, man. So go watch it anyway. Y'all ain't see how it unfolded. Did it sound interesting or not? So still check it out. I don't want to hear nothing about y'all talking about, but you told us to watch it and it ruined the movie. No, it didn't. It didn't ruin nothing. You ain't see it. So go out, go listen to the podcast. See if you want to listen to the movie or watch the movie or the TV show and do it. All right. I know I sound real forceful when I say that, but I said spoilers earlier, so I know people listening like, but why would I listen to it if they talking about the show? So you can figure out if it's interesting or not, just like you do when you seeing people fight on TV. You know what it's gonna be already. It's gonna be a fight. So
Yeah,
go watch it. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
go listen to it. But anyway, for everybody watching, you can follow me at Siege 101 on Twitter, at the Link Entertainment LLC on Instagram, the Link ENT LLC on all other platforms to get this content and others. There's more show left if you are on audio, so stay with us. Again, S. Dot, appreciate you for coming on, and we definitely got to do this soon. I'm gonna make a great one for us next time. Probably a little bit more serious, but you know how we get.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely down for it, man. Just hit me up.
Yes, sir.